Here's what Trump is doing right now in real time that I think is brilliant. And this is why this bugs me. I'm not a Trump guy. I don't know if you guys know this. I was a DeSantis guy. I like DeSantis a lot. I think DeSantis would have been my pick. I still don't understand why everyone got in line and fell for Trump again. I think that Trump is doing a great job of humanizing himself. Mm-hmm. All these podcast appearances, going 3 hours with Rogan, podcasts, all these things, I think is like he's winning me over, like on a personality level. He's winning me over. I'm already there with him on most of the policies. I don't like his DACA views. I don't like him flip-flopping on a. I don't like his tariffs. I don't know about how I feel about those tariffs, how that's going to like directly impact us as we do stuff with overseas vendors. But generally speaking, I agree with his general policies. Mm-hmm. However, he's winning me over on a personality level.
He's doing everything that you've said people from big establishments should always do.
Absolutely. Go sit down, go have the hard conversations. Nothing. So I think he's doing a great job in terms of winning people over, like winning over the common guy that just wants to sit down, have a beer with him, even though he doesn't drink, have a conversation with him, have a cigar with him. I think I think he's doing a really good job of that. And I think that the numbers show for themselves. I mean, you're talking about they were doing 1 million views an hour.
Yeah, I think they're still doing it.
Doing 1 million views an hour on this conversation. So I think the interview was really good, and I think the moment itself was very good. Now, let me tell you guys some of the things I did. You watch the whole thing, Zach?
Yep, watched the entire thing.
Here are some things that Crystal pointed out, and I don't know. There's a lot I disagree with Crystal on.
Yep.
I think her views on the Israel thing is just horrendous. Like I think she's a raging leftist. Right. I don't like her views on most things, but she pointed out a good thing where as exciting as it is to see the rise of alternative media that isn't begetting to the corporate interest, and let's be honest, big pharma is who drives a lot of network news.
Hello.
As exciting as it is to see Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Flagrant have these conversations. A lot of the conversations, on the left, you got Shannon Sharp, which maybe we'll look at that video later. You got Shannon Sharp. You got who's the Call Me Daddy podcast?
Call Her Daddy.
Yeah. As exciting as it is, Crystal made the point that a lot of these are kind of fluff pieces. There's no real hard questions being asked.
So it's similar to traditional media anyways.
So we're just doing press. It's just long form, Yeah. And I'll be honest, the only person that I thought asked Trump some hard questions, Joe Rogan did push back on when he was trying to roast Kamala, and he said he would still sit down with her, which I think she should do that.
Yeah.
If she wants the male demographic, Rogan has that.
Yeah.
And Schultz. I think Schultz actually pushed him and kind of roasted him and trolled him to his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was good. It was great. It was brilliant. He pushed him. He trolled him to his face. Every time he'd say something funny and he'd say, I'm basically an honest person, they would start laughing at it, and like, there was they pushed him on the deletion of babies thing. They pushed him on some of his policies, and more so than Rogan did. And so as much as I love this moment that mainstream media is being replaced, I don't know if they're actually asking him hard questions. I have a potential conversation on our platform with someone that I have to say some stuff about some of their decisions that they made. And in that, I can't have that conversation unless I'm allowed to ask them the questions I need to ask them. And I've passed up on a lot of high-profile folks, like household names in Christianity that you guys would know, that refuse to sit down because they don't want to be asked certain questions. And even when I ask people hard questions, I'm fairly charitable in these conversations. I just had a conversation with Russell Brand. He interviewed me, but I asked him some hard questions. Tim Ross, right? But I think like if we get to these amazing conversations to have with presidential nominees, and for the record, like I think God willing, nothing catastrophic happens. I think the next election cycle we'll probably get a shot at a presidential conversation. Like we'll be able to sit down with it within 2028.
That is 4 years.
If we continue on this trajectory, it could really happen. And I would not want to have 3 hours of weaving and dolphin depression and whatever they were talking about.
I'd give this though. Here's what I'd say. I think baby steps. So I think in a world where presidential candidates only sit down or stand and do a small debate over controversial topics with a small time period, and we really want to see these people long form, Like, I think a lot can be revealed if you just let people speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, there's also the newness to this internet podcast situation for big institutions like politics. So I would say is you don't want to spook them. It's like inviting a friend to church and the first day is like the hyper charismatic deliverance day. If the first day is hyper charismatic deliverance day for Trump and he's getting pressed left and right, then it's
That's good.
It's
That's
not
good take.
Trump might be okay with that. But it's gonna be all the other
All the other
candidates,
people, yeah.
all the softies that are like, "Oh snap! I'm never gonna do one of these stupid little internet podcasts because they're just gonna try to roast me the entire time to get a clip."
Yeah.
I mean, even just from a macro point of view, like back when we used to do mega church pastor reaction videos years ago, right? Haven't done them in a long time. There's still remnants of that, of like, oh, this person wants to come on, but they're unsure. Or we have a pastor on, he's like, oh, I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but it was really nice. You know, and so there's people's perception that affects for years to come just off of a short period of content creation. So I think overall it's a net positive. I don't think you're going to get everything out the gate. I think next election cycle, it'll be a little bit more pushback. And the next one after that, it'll be a lot more pushback, but it'll be normal. It'll feel normal to get pushback.
I think that's a good take. I think that people, baby steps. You know, I think that's a really good take.
Gotta warm them up.
Warm them up. I think that when you have Anderson Cooper pressing Harris more than Joe Rogan pressing Trump, I just go, You know, like I thought Anderson Cooper did a great job pressing Harris. Challenged her multiple times. It was very, very well done. Yeah. And granted, maybe she needs CNN more than Trump needs Joe Rogan. True,
because maybe there's some CNN watchers that are like unconvinced,
that are undecided, don't like her, and she's trying to win them over. So to your point, maybe she needs CNN more than Trump needs Joe Rogan. Yeah. But I feel like Rogan, he's kind of that guy right now.
He is.
You know
what?
Hello, everybody.
The other thing about Joe Rogan is that he's historically been like this. The only time he's ever pushed back is like a Matt Walsh and a Steven Crowder, both on marriage. I can't name another time. That's why he'd be having some weirdos on. I love Joe Rogan. Listen to a lot of episodes. He'll have some weirdos on, and he will happily go down the route of mushrooms in the Bible and and I just take everything at face value. He's a conversationalist. And I don't think he's a podcaster the same way that you're a podcaster. So I would say it didn't feel out of character. Whereas like I feel like it would be out of character for you to not talk to Trump about anything controversial. Hearing the Joe Rogan thing, I felt like it didn't feel out of character. It actually felt like he was trying really hard to like lock Trump in on certain conversations.
John Clash said Joe Rogan only pushes back on Christianity.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think that. I think you're right. I think that's a really good take. I think that I guess I was just expecting a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, no, totally.
And I was just a little disappointed. Yeah, I guess we can look at some of these clips. This is Crystal and Sagar kind of put together a nice little bit.
And let's take a listen to how that all went.
I want to talk about 2020 because you said over and over again that you were robbed in 2020.
Yeah, totally.
How do you think you were robbed? Everybody always cuts you off. I'm going to allow.
Well, they not only cut you off. Well, what I'd rather do is we'll do it another time, and I would bring in papers that you would not believe. So many different papers.
First weave.
So many different papers.
Well, here's what I'll say uninterrupted, and we'll do it another time. I'll bring in the papers.
That was great.
That election was so crooked. It was the most crooked election.
Okay, but give me some examples of how.
Well, let's start from the top and the easy ones.
Okay.
They were supposed to get legislative approval to do the things they did, and they didn't get it. In many cases, they didn't get it.
What things?
Anything.
Legislative approval,
like for extensions of the voting, for voting earlier, for this, for all different things. By law, they had to get legislative approvals. You don't have to go any further than that. If you take a look at Wisconsin, they virtually admitted that the election was rigged, robbed, and stolen. They wouldn't give access in certain areas to the ballots because the ballots weren't signed. They weren't originals. We could go into this stuff. We could go into the ballots, or we could go into the overall. I'll give you another one.
Are you going to
Someone said his hand expressions are like emojis.
Well, let me
ever
go ahead. Let me see their analysis, and I'll give you my analysis on this. Go ahead.
Yeah. Are you going to present this ever?
He actually came back to it twice, so there was more at the end as well that they went into. But I mean, I thought that was, in terms of that's the one mainstream media and others are going to be picking up on, and I mean, it genuinely was. It's a problem for him, because what you see there is that even in a setting where Rogan's like, I won't even cut you off, like he could just go into it. He's like, well, I still have to look back.
Bring
I mean, look, I
papers.
don't want to say this is like the entire interview. This is obviously 3 hours, but we're trying to pick out the most newsworthy bits here.
It was when he pushed him the most was on that.
Yeah.
And even in that, like, I'm glad he brought it up. But even in that, like, I would have loved to say, hey, the very judges you elected, the very conservative judges you elected in conservative states all said the election was fair and certified. Your own vice president certified the election. You called him a traitor for it. Surely you're not saying, like, I think there could have been more even pushback on that part.
Yeah.
But he just kind of let him slide. Now, again, even when he's talking, I like him more and more the more I hear him in long form. If I'm just being completely honest with you, just as a human, I'm like, he's likable.
It served the utility of just talking with somebody and being like, oh, cool. Like Biden convinced us that he was there as far as a mental faculty goes by not really chatting.
Yes.
And then as it went on, we're like, oh, this man's not there.
Yes.
Whereas this is like, oh, well, we just saw this happen with Biden.
Yes.
Trump is old. He's only 2 years younger than Biden.
Yep. And he can go.
Yeah, exactly.
Rogan said
I'm nervous, and the liberals in CNN are all pushing, and Kamala Harris is all pushing this, like, he's old, he's got it, he doesn't got it. And so, like, there is a little of that nervousness of, we just saw what happens when we elect someone that's in their 80s, but then he talks here 3 hours and crushes.
Straight. Rogan said he walked in, didn't use the restroom, sat down for 3 hours, didn't use the restroom one time, walked out, didn't use the restroom, left next to a campaign event.
I couldn't do it.
That's impressive.
That's insane.
And again, Harris's conversation with Shannon Sharp, which I haven't watched yet, was only an hour. I think like hour and a half, maybe. Maybe we'll get to that. And so I think he could have pushed him a little bit more.
Shannon
on that.
Sharp
I think,
and who?
Harris. Yeah, I think he could have pushed him a bit more. I think the entire campaign steal thing is a liability for him, and it's not a good look because it makes him look like a sore loser. There's arguments to be made on ballot harvesting, meaning they changed how you can vote. 2, they changed the fact that you can get votes in through harvesting ballots, meaning they were going out and getting people to vote that normally wouldn't get to vote, and they were saying that's illegal. That was Michael Knowles. Michael Knowles' entire response to why Trump would use is because the Democrats changed the rules about the election. In his world, Trump is incapable of losing outside of the Democratic change rules, which to me is like, come on, dog. Like, you're not really tapped into the average day-to-day person that's like a never Trumper.
That mail-in ballot box just caught on fire in Washington.
In Washington, I saw that. Hundreds of ballots in.
Luckily, it's not a swing state.
So yes. So I say all that to say, the argument for the election being stolen, to me, is much stronger by saying, hey, man, they suppressed the Hunter laptop story.
Yeah.
That was wrong. Everyone agrees that was wrong. That should not happen.
Yep.
And, they had some laws changed about mail-in voting because of COVID that were not the same way we usually do them. That's questionable. We should look into that. All this other stuff about, the illegals voting and all that, not that it's saying that this never happened. It's just not a great argument. It's not a great argument. It makes you look like a sore loser. It's like you lost the game and you're blaming it on the refs. And
sometimes the refs are a little crooked.
Yeah, but they need to play stronger to the
Yeah.
point this time where you can't blame it on the refs. There should be no excuses this time around.
Yeah.
They're saying he might win the popular vote and win the electoral college. Because remember, when he won before,
it was just the electoral college.
It was just the electoral college, which is ultimately what wins the elections. I'm not mad at it. But they're like this time, like, okay, if she's as unpopular as I think she is, will we see a landslide next Tuesday? I don't know.
Wait. Is election day next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
And then by midnight, it's all done?
Well, now people are concerned because they're saying it may not be done until weeks as they're because it's never really certified until January. But you got to think they're not counting those votes the night of. They're doing exit polls. So based on the exit polls, they're predicting which states go to who. But those aren't counted in real time the way we think they are.
But when did they announce it?
I think it takes a couple days. But now they're just saying, hey, it might take weeks. They're preemptively going to say it's stolen. And the Democrats are seemingly saying it's going to take longer because it's going to be such a huge turnout. And it's already getting murky. I hope and think that we will have a winner on Tuesday night. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. And be sure to check out this video that YouTube is recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right? I'll see you over there. Peace.